The rain battered the office windows, a relentless drumbeat that matched the pounding in my chest. I was alone, save for the glow of my laptop and the weight of a deadline I couldn't meet. Then she walked in, Lila, my boss, with her sharp blazer and sharper eyes, and everything changed. I'm Ellie, 27, a junior graphic designer at a small marketing firm in Seattle. My life was a cycle of coffee runs, late nights, and dodging my roommates' questions about why I was still single. I didn't have an answer, not one I could say out loud. Growing up in a small town, I'd learned to bury feelings that didn't fit the mold. But Lila? She was a storm I couldn't outrun. Lila Bennett, 29, was the kind of woman who commanded a room without trying. Her short, tousled brown hair framed a face that could be warm or icy, depending on the day. As creative director, she was brilliant, demanding, and terrifyingly perceptive. I'd been working under her for 6 months, and every critique, every glance, felt like it peeled back another layer of me. Tonight, though, something was different. Her usual crisp demeanor was softer, frayed at the edges, like she was carrying a secret too heavy to hold. Ellie, you're still here? Her voice cut through the silence, low and smooth, as she leaned against my cubicle. Her blazer was unbuttoned, a rare sign of ease. Trying to finish the Parker campaign, I mumbled, eyes on my screen, though I hadn't typed a word in 10 minutes. My hands were trembling, not from the cold, but from the way her presence filled the room. She glanced at my screen, then at me. It's pouring outside. You're not walking home in this. Before I could protest, she added, I'm driving you. The ride to my apartment was quiet, save for the hum of her car and the rain's steady rhythm. I stole glances at her, her hands gripping the wheel, her jaw tight, like she was wrestling with something unspoken. My stomach twisted, a mix of nerves and something I didn't dare name. When we pulled up to my building, I expected her to say goodnight. Instead, she turned off the engine. Can I come up? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. My heart stopped. I nodded, unable to trust my voice. Inside my cramped apartment, the air felt charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. I fumbled with my keys, hyper-aware of her standing behind me, her breath warm against the back of my neck. Ellie, she said, and the way she said my name made my knees weak. There's something I need to tell you. I turned to face her, and her eyes locked onto mine, raw, unguarded, like she was seeing me for the first time. I've been watching you, she said, stepping closer. Not just your work. You. And I can't keep pretending I don't feel this. My breath caught. This was Lila, my boss, the woman who intimidated me daily, who I'd spent months trying not to want. And now she was here, in my apartment, unraveling everything I thought I knew about myself. Lila, I started, but she closed the distance between us, her hand brushing my arm. Her touch was electric, a spark that lit up every buried feeling I'd tried to ignore. I'm scared, I admitted, my voice shaking. It's too much. She didn't pull away. Instead, she cupped my face, her thumb tracing my jaw. I'm scared too, she whispered. But I can't walk away from this. Not anymore. That night, we talked until the rain stopped, our words spilling like confessions. She told me about her own struggles, growing up in a family that expected perfection, hiding who she was to climb the corporate ladder. I shared my fears, the ones I'd never voiced, that loving someone like her could cost me everything, my job, my family's approval, my sense of safety. Yet, with her sitting across from me, her hand brushing mine, those fears felt smaller. By the time she left, the sun was rising, painting my apartment in soft gold. She didn't kiss me, didn't push, but her parting words lingered. This isn't over, Ellie. Not by a long shot. I stood at my window, watching her car disappear, my heart a tangled mess of hope and dread. I didn't know what came next, but one thing was clear. Lila had cracked open a part of me I'd kept locked away, and there was no going back. The next morning, my apartment felt too quiet, like the absence of Lila's voice had left a void. I replayed her words in my head, each one a thread pulling me towards something I wasn't ready to name. At work, I braced myself for awkwardness, but Lila was all business. Her usual sharp critiques, her cool professionalism. It stung, like she'd flipped a switch and erased last night. I threw myself into the Parker campaign, sketching designs with a ferocity I didn't recognize. My coworker, Jamie, noticed. "You okay, Ellie? You're, like, possessed." I forced a smile, muttering something about deadlines, but my mind was on Lila. Had I imagined the connection? Was she regretting it? At noon, she called me into her office. My pulse raced as I shut the door behind me. "About last night," she started, her voice low. "I meant every word. But we need to be careful." Her eyes flicked to the glass walls, where colleagues moved like shadows. "This could ruin us both." I nodded, my throat tight. "I know." The firm had a strict no-fraternization policy, and Lila's position made it riskier. If anyone found out, I'd be the one labeled the problem, the junior designer who couldn't keep it professional. "Then why can't I stop thinking about you?" she said, her voice breaking. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, citrus and cedar. My resolve wavered, but before I could speak, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, her face hardening. "Client meeting. We'll talk later." The rest of the week was a blur of stolen glances and unspoken tension. Lila found excuses to linger near my desk, her fingers brushing mine when she handed me files. Each touch was a spark, a reminder of what we were risking. I started staying late again, not just for work but to feel her presence, to catch the moments when her guard slipped. On Friday, she asked me to stay after hours to review designs. The office emptied, leaving us in a cocoon of silence. She leaned over my shoulder, her breath warm against my ear as she pointed out a flaw in my layout. "You're better than this, Ellie," she said, but her tone was soft, almost tender. I turned, and our faces were inches apart. "Lila," I whispered, "what are we doing?" My voice trembled with the weight of wanting her, of knowing how dangerous this was. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she kissed me, slow, deliberate, like she was memorizing me. My world tilted, every fear drowned out by the warmth of her lips. When we pulled apart, her eyes were fierce. "I don't know what this is," she said, "but I know it's real." We didn't stay long after that. She drove me home again, but this time, she didn't come up. "We need time to figure this out," she said, her hand lingering on mine. "But I'm not letting you go." At home, I sat on my couch, staring at the spot where she'd stood days before. My phone lit up with a text from her. "You're worth the risk." My heart soared, but a shadow loomed, my family. My parents, devout and traditional, had never understood my choices. If they found out about Lila, it wouldn't just be disapproval, it would be disownment. I typed a reply, but didn't send it. Instead, I curled up, the weight of her words and my fears pressing against me. Lila was a fire I couldn't resist, but fires could burn everything down. The weeks that followed were a tightrope walk. Lila and I carved out moments in secret, coffee runs that lasted too long, late-night texts that felt like lifelines. Every touch, every glance, was a rebellion against the rules we were breaking. But the thrill came with a cost. At work, rumors started swirling. Jamie caught me smiling at a text from Lila and raised an eyebrow. "You're awfully happy lately," she said, her tone probing. I brushed it off, but paranoia crept in. The office was a fishbowl, and we were swimming in plain sight. One evening, Lila invited me to her place for a work discussion. Her apartment was sleek, all glass and sharp angles, but her bookshelves were cluttered with dog-eared novels and photos of her laughing with friends. It made her real, not just the untouchable boss I'd built up in my head. We didn't talk about work. Instead, we cooked dinner, pasta with too much garlic, and laughed until wine spilled on her counter. She kissed me again, this time with a hunger that matched mine. We fell onto her couch, tangled in each other, and for the first time, I let myself believe this could be more than a secret. But reality crashed in the next day. My mom called, her voice bright with news. She and Dad were visiting Seattle next week. "We miss you, Ellie," she said. "And we want to meet this special person you've been dodging questions about." My stomach dropped. I hadn't told them about Lila. How could I? They'd barely accepted me moving to the city, let alone this. I told Lila over coffee, my hands shaking around the mug. "They'll hate me," I said. "They'll hate us." She reached for my hand, her grip steady. "Then we'll face it together. You don't have to do this alone." Her words were a lifeline, but doubt gnawed at me. That night, I lay awake, imagining their faces, my mom's tears, my dad's silence. I'd spent years trying to be the daughter they wanted, the one who didn't make waves. Loving Lila felt like betraying them, but losing her felt like betraying myself. The day my parents arrived, Lila insisted on meeting them. "I'm not hiding," she said, her voice fierce. We met at a cafe, neutral ground, but the air was thick with tension. My mom's smile was tight, my dad's handshake with Lila curt. When I introduced her as someone important, my mom's eyes narrowed. "Important how?" she asked, her tone sharp. I froze, but Lila didn't flinch. "I care about your daughter," she said simply. "More than I can explain." The silence that followed was deafening. My dad stood, his chair scraping the floor. "We need to talk, Ellie." Alone. Outside the cafe, rain started falling again, mirroring the storm inside me. My dad's face was a mask of disappointment, my mom's eyes brimming with tears. "Ellie, this isn't you," she said. "You're confused. You need to come home." "Home," I snapped, my voice louder than I intended. "I'm not a kid. This is my life." The words felt like knives, cutting through years of silence. My dad's voice was low, controlled. "We raised you better than this. She's your boss, Ellie. It's not right." I wanted to scream that Lila was more than my boss, that she was the first person who saw me, really saw me. But the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I turned and walked back to Lila, who was waiting by her car. She didn't ask what happened. She just pulled me into a hug, her warmth grounding me. At work, things got worse. Someone had seen us at the cafe, and whispers turned into pointed questions. The HR manager called me in, her tone clipped. "We've had reports of inappropriate behavior," she said. "You and Lila need to explain yourselves." I felt like I was drowning. Lila, though, was unflinching. She admitted to our relationship, her voice steady as she outlined how we'd kept it separate from work. "If you need to fire me, do it," she said. "But Ellie's done nothing wrong." They didn't fire her, but the warning was clear. One misstep, and we were out. The pressure was suffocating, and I started pulling away, avoiding Lila's texts, skipping our late-night talks. I told myself it was to protect her, but deep down, I was terrified of losing everything. One night, she showed up at my apartment, her eyes blazing. "You don't get to shut me out," she said. "If this is too much, tell me. But don't disappear." "I'm scared, Lila," I admitted, tears falling. "My parents, my job, it's all slipping away." She knelt in front of me, her hands on mine. "Then let me be your anchor. We'll figure it out, together." Her words broke something in me, and I kissed her, desperate and raw. That night, we didn't hold back. It was messy, beautiful, and terrifying, like stepping off a cliff and trusting her to catch me. The next morning, I woke up in Lila's arms, her breath steady against my shoulder. For a moment, I let myself believe we could stay like this, safe, untouchable. But the world doesn't stop for love. At work, the tension was palpable. Colleagues avoided my eyes, and Jamie's usual chatter was replaced with awkward silence. Lila kept her distance, but her glances were a quiet promise. We're in this together. I clung to that, even as doubt crept in. My parents called again, demanding I come home for a family meeting. I refused, but their words echoed. You're throwing your life away. I started questioning everything, my choices, my feelings, whether I was strong enough for this fight. Lila noticed. Over dinner at her place, she set down her fork and looked at me. You're pulling away again, she said. Talk to me. I told her everything. My fear of losing my family, my job, my place in the world. She listened, her hand steady on mine. You're not alone in this, she said. But you have to choose what you're fighting for. Her words hit hard. I'd spent my life pleasing others, hiding who I was to fit in. Lila was asking me to choose myself, to choose us. It was terrifying, but the thought of losing her was worse. The next day, I called my parents and told them the truth. I loved Lila, and I wasn't giving her up. My mom cried. My dad hung up. It hurt, but it also felt like freedom. For the first time, I was standing up for what I wanted. At work, we were more careful, but the rumors didn't stop. A senior partner called Lila into a meeting, and when she came out, her face was pale. They're watching us, she said. One mistake and we're done. That night, we made a plan. If it came to it, we'd leave the firm, start over somewhere new. The idea was daunting, but with Lila beside me, it felt possible. We were building something real, something worth fighting for. The weeks that followed tested us. My parents stopped calling, their silence louder than any argument. At work, the scrutiny intensified. Every move we made was dissected. But Lila and I grew closer, our bond forged in the crucible of pressure. One evening, we went to a queer bar downtown, a place where we could be ourselves without fear. We danced, laughed, and for a few hours, the world didn't matter. A woman named Sarah, a friend of Lila's, joined us. She was warm, open, and her stories of living authentically gave me hope. You two are brave, she said, raising her glass. Love like yours, it's worth everything. Her words stayed with me. Back at Lila's apartment, we talked about the future, moving to a new city, starting a freelance business together. It was a dream, but it felt within reach. Then came the blow. The firm's CEO called us into a meeting. A client had complained, citing unprofessional conduct based on rumors about our relationship. We can't afford the optics, he said. One of you needs to go. Lila didn't hesitate. I'll resign, she said, her voice steady. Ellie's career is just starting. I won't let this ruin her. I protested, but she was adamant. That night, she drafted her resignation letter, her hands steady even as tears fell. This isn't the end, she said. It's a new beginning. I couldn't let her sacrifice everything. I went to HR the next day, pleading our case, arguing that our work had never suffered. They listened, but their decision was final. Lila was out. We spent the night packing her office, her awards and books a reminder of what she was losing. But as we drove away, her hand in mine, I realized we weren't broken. We were stronger. 6 months later, we were in Portland, starting over. Lila had launched a freelance design studio, and I joined her, our skills complementing each other perfectly. Our apartment was small, filled with second-hand furniture and laughter. It wasn't easy, money was tight, and my parents still hadn't reached out, but we were building a life together. One evening, as we sat on our balcony, watching the city lights, Lila took my hand. I'd do it all again, she said, her eyes soft. Every risk, every fight. You're worth it. I leaned into her, my heart full. Loving Lila had cost me my family, my job, my old life. But it had given me something greater. The courage to be myself. We weren't just surviving. We were thriving, our love a testament to what happens when you choose truth over fear. As the stars emerged, I thought of the note from that first night. Her touch changed everything. It had. Lila hadn't just taken me home. She'd given me a home in her, a place where I could be whole. And that was worth everything.